All right, we'll get started in a sec.
Yep, no worries. So is there like a text chat that is in this room? I don't know how to.
Yeah, remember we were sending data. If I'm not mistaken, we were going into general chat to post studies or whatnot, I think.
Right. I know we were sending messages back and forth, but I thought those were private. I thought those were DMs.
Oh, we are. Yeah, we are. That is private.
Okay.
So there's private DMs, and then there's also a text chat in this server.
Right.
Why? What's the deal?
Oh, I was just wondering. I can't seem to bring it. Is it like how would I open that up at the moment?
Oh, sure. So, you scroll down and you see open text channels.
Yeah. 1 second. Oh, yes. Open text channel.
And you see general.
Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Got it.
I'm just checking to see if there's any recorders available. If it's not, it's fine. We could just have an unrecorded conversation.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think. Okay. I mean, that's fine. We'll start soon.
Yep.
All right. So since last time we reviewed some data, and and we found like maybe not perfect examples of the phenotype that you were suggesting.
Yep.
But seemingly closer than we found before to the phenotype you were suggesting. I mean, I'm not aware of a perfect example of this phenotype, but I am aware of major structures of both the Müllerian and Wolffian duct simultaneously developing, and various mechanisms for which that can happen, such that you have not ipsilateral, but also bilateral.
What does ipsilateral mean?
Yeah. Oh, sure. So ipsilateral means ipsilateral means on the same side. Contralateral means on the opposite side. So, for example, let's say we have 2 ovaries and 2 testes. So we have 2 right ovaries and 2 right testes, and we have 2 left ovaries and 2 left testes.
Okay.
Ipsilateral. So the left testy has, if I say, is the right ovary ipsilateral or contralateral to the right testy? The right testy would be ipsilateral to the right ovary, and it would be contralateral to the left ovary.
Right.
So contralateral just means on different sides instead of left versus right, and ipsilateral means on the same side.
Sure.
So there are different ways in which you can have both the Wolffian and Müllerian duct developing in the same organism at the same time. Yeah. One way is it could be a contralateral development. So we all are, in the normal situation, we all start with 2 bipotential gonads.
Right.
They can undergo the Wolffian or the Müllerian process.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is possible that one of them undergoes the Wolffian process and another one undergoes the Müllerian process. So in that case, you will have a right-sided Wolffian process and a left-sided Müllerian process.
Right.
Another way, Another way it can happen.
What species did you find that in?
That was found in mice, and it was found in rabbits. Right. Actually, it's found in mice. Mice can have it. Rabbits, you can have it on both sides. Right. And in whales, you can have it on both sides. So another way you can have it also. Oh, and humans as well. Humans have been found to have contralateral.
Right.
In another way you can have simultaneous development of the Wolffian and Müllerian processes is if it's ipsilateral, which means that the Wolffian and Müllerian process has simultaneously developed on the same side rather than opposite sides.
Okay.
And a form of ipsilateral development would be bilateral development of both processes. So you have two, in which you will end up with 4 bipotential gonads,
Well,
2 developing.
No, you would end
Yeah,
up
4.
four gonads or 4 bi.
Yeah, four bipotential gonads. So the hypothesis is that there's duplication of the bipotential gonads.
Oh, and that's how they're getting the double ups.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
but that's not the only requirement. So the first thing that happens is there's 2 bipotential gonads. They duplicate to 4 bipotential gonads.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is a lack of response to the counter inhibitory substances.
Mm-hmm.
So testes differential, TDF, testes differentiating factor, doesn't respond, doesn't influence the female structures to inhibit them like it normally would. And so if all those things are in place, you can get both Müllerian and Wolffian processes developed, not just contralaterally, but also ipsilaterally and even bilaterally.
Right. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting to know, and I think I don't know. It's been a good discussion because I haven't had a lot of one-on-ones with people who are kind of coming at it from the other side to really like work out where my lack of understanding is around different issues. So I guess when I've been since we talked last, I have been going over the little Twitter thread that you wrote out that kind of explained your position, which admittedly I think I kind of glanced at it, but I hadn't properly looked at it prior to our first discussion. And so,
did you also go over? Sorry to interrupt. Did you also go over my responses to individuals such as Swipe Right and all? Let's see. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Right. No, right. I didn't. It was just the Twitter thread, which
okay.
I think was about 7 or 8 posts.
Okay, sure.
Yep. And so I went over those, and what I think the issue is that it's a categorization issue, and so first of all, the way that I would the thing that I think is most crucial to the discussion is the difference between capacity and function. So where are we? I would say that it's possible for something to have the capacity to perform something that's outside its function. So the example I was thinking of was, in prison, lots of toothbrushes get made into shanks, but the purpose of a toothbrush isn't to stab someone, but it has the capacity to be used in that way.
Well, wait a minute. When I asked you what's the sufficiency criteria for male sex and sufficiency criteria for female sex, you didn't say anything about purpose. You gave the definition you gave me was that there's a phenotype organized around making a given gamete cell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are you going to change your definition? I mean, you can if it's you want. You can change your definition.
Yeah. I think that definition was actually incorrect because I don't think that purely having the capacity to produce these gametes changes what sex they are. Because the capacity to produce.
Okay, so we can go back to.
Hang on. No. I just want to finish this. It doesn't change the capacity to produce different phenotypes doesn't change the sex of the phenotype because all phenotypes have the capacity to produce all gametes. So that would mean there were no sexed phenotypes.
Well, I'm not sure if that's true or not. I'm agnostic on that, especially after they've been differentiated. But that's okay. We can
But
go
hang on, no,
to it.
but isn't the whole point of like trying to like look at the various different examples of hermaphroditic or like what do they call it? True hermaphroditism.
True simultaneous anisogamous hermaphroditism. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think part of the way to get to understand the difference is by looking at what scientists mean by true true hermaphroditism.
Can I just explain what I mean when I say I'm not sure if it's possible for any being to produce any? Yeah, sure. So I'm agnostic on that. The reason I'm agnostic on that is because not just we haven't seen any example that has gotten close to that in a given population. So, for example, all the examples we have on true simultaneous anisogamous hermaphrodites, the potential for that happens early on in development. So it's if I give you an example of adults, like if I took myself for an example and I asked the question, is it physically possible for me to produce eggs, right? I don't know the answer to that. I don't see why it wouldn't, but I don't. It's not. It wouldn't be analogous to a case where if I asked myself, as I was developing, as a fertilized zygote, right? Is it possible for me to produce both eggs and sperm? That would be a very different question, and I think the answer to that would be yes, if I was a zygote, and it would be much more agnostic if you're asking it to the adult me, because all the examples where we have
sure, but in any given example, there will be phenotypes that can and can't, at least at the given moment, produce one or the other gametes. But
the question is, could they produce both?
Sorry.
The question would be if any given phenotype can produce both.
Right. Yes. But any given not any given example of a phenotype, but any given class of phenotype can produce.
What do you mean?
Well, you can find male gonads inside a female phenotype, and you can find female gonads inside a male phenotype.
Well, that's fine. So what would be your? Let's just get to the bottom of it. So what would be your criteria for male sex and your criteria for female sex? Like, what definition are you putting on the table?
I guess what I would put on the table is that something becomes sexed, whether that's a gamete or a gonad or a phenotype. It becomes sexed when it is organized specifically around a specific gamete. So male phenotypes are male because they're organized around the male gamete, and female phenotypes are female because they're organized around the female phenotype. But hermaphroditic phenotypes, not sex phenotypes that have hermaphroditic traits, but true hermaphroditic phenotypes that develop both male and female genitalia simultaneously. So you have the same gonads in the same phenotype. That means the phenotype doesn't have a sex category, and it works in the same way that, for example, a t-shirt has both left and right sleeves, but you wouldn't say it's a left and right t-shirt because they kind of cancel each other out. However, in items that function exclusively in relation to one side of the body, not only do these, like say, left shoes or a right glove, not only do these contain components that can be described as left or right, but the entire item of clothing is described as left or right. So my argument would be that male is something that only produces sperm, and female is something that only produces ovum. And rather than meeting both categories, a hermaphrodite is actually a hermaphrodite on the level of a phenotype is actually excluded from either category, even though they contain gonads that are male and female.
Okay, so you would say that all of the peer-reviewed literature that says true anisogamous hermaphrodites are male and female, that's just incorrect. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, I guess I'd have to see exactly what they're saying. But if they're saying,
yeah, sure, I can
mean,
post
they
it.
can say the gonads are male and female, but to say the
no, they're saying the organism is both male and female.
Right. Yeah. Well, my understanding, actually, another thing too is I think that the understanding of male and female, I think they're mutually exclusive. I actually do think it's like logically.
Yeah, you can define it that. Yeah, no, I understand. I understand what you're saying. So you can have a definition that it is like that it's mutually exclusive to be male and female, just mutually exclusive categories, which means that if being male, so we have a categorization schema such that male only is what makes an individual male. So in other words, sperm organization around production of sperm only is sufficiency criteria for being male. Organization around eggs only is a sufficiency criteria for being female. And if an individual is organized
for a phenotype to be classed as female,
yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
and for an organism to be organized around both sperm and egg production, they simply are sexless.
The phenotype has no sex.
Yeah, the organism has no sex.
Yes. No.
Okay.
No. Yeah. Is the organism the phenotype?
The organism has a phenotype. The organism.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the organism has a sex, but the phenotype doesn't, or something.
Well, that you have to explain to me. How do you work that one out?
Yeah. Because the phenotype is a category. Okay, how would the organism have a sex without the phenotype having a sex? Yeah, no, it doesn't have a. I'm gonna stick by it doesn't have a sex.
Okay, so the organism. Okay, cool. So the organism, on your view, does not have a sex, despite the fact that it can sexually reproduce.
Yes.
Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so you can have a definition like that. It can be. It's not going to entail a contradiction.
Mm-hmm.
The reductios on that definition will be the following. Number one, what I just mentioned. So you are going to say the organism doesn't have a sex category, despite the fact that it can sexually reproduce, despite the fact that it's organized around sexual reproduction, modalities of sexual reproduction. The other issue is it's at odds with the biologist's understanding of what it means of their categorization. So I can present multiple peer-reviewed papers stating and affirming that the organisms that have true simultaneous anisogamous hermaphrodism are both male and female. So you can. It's a proprietary definition. You can have that definition.
Well, I don't know. The dictionary definition that I've been going off of is, obviously this is the dictionary definition. It's not the a scientific definition, but it's more like a lay definition. Is that the actual definition has baked into it the fact that there's only two categories. So it says either of the two main categories, and then specifically in brackets, male and female, into which humans and most other living things are divided on the basis of their reproductive function. So it's kind of saying in that definition that a sex is binary and exclusive, because they're saying either of the two main categories.
Yeah, no, you can have a definition like that. Again, like you can have that definition. The reductios on that definition are the following. First and foremost, that's contrary to the definition that scientists are using, that biologists are using.
But is that a reductio?
That wouldn't be the reductio, actually. Sorry. The reductio for that would be specifically that you would be saying that an organism can be organized around sexual reproduction, and yet they don't have a sex category. To me, that's the hilarious reductio on that view.
Yeah, because they're in all of the categories, so they don't have a specific sexual function.
Well, wait a minute. Being in all of the categories doesn't follow that they're not in any of the categories.
all just means none. We're in a backwards world.
Yeah, so I mean, the problem with that is that the fact that we're meeting two categories doesn't mean that we're meeting no category. It just means that we're meeting both categories.
No.
Seems like we'd meet both.
They cancel each other out like the left and right sleeve.
Wait. Look, so if I have a shirt that has a left-only sleeve, and if I have a shirt that has a right-only sleeve, and if I have a shirt that has a left and right sleeve, how many, with respect, if I ask the question with respect to how many possible shirts there are, or how many...
Right, yes. How many possible shirts there are? There are 3 possible shirts, but there are only 2 possible, like, shirts that are defined by the number of sleeves they have. The other one isn't defined in that way. So there are 2 possible sexed phenotypes, but there is 1 unsexed phenotype.
Right, so if I ask the question, the shirt has a given number of arm types that it is organized to fit. So
yeah, then there would be 3 arm types, and only 2 of them would be definitional or defining.
Yeah, so there would be 3. There would be 3. Yeah, it would be ternary. It would not be binary. So there would be a shirt that's organized around fitting a left arm. There would be a shirt that's organized around fitting a right arm, and then there would be a shirt that's organized around fitting a left arm and a right arm. And then we would have a non-binary category.
The first 2 arms would be sexed. The first 2 arms would have a specific arm category, and the third combination would have no armed category. It's the same way. There are only 2 possibilities for the number of sexes that a phenotype can belong to, because anything that includes more than 1 sex, by definition, has no exclusive reproductive function. It's not exclusively organized around one of the gametes, and so.
I agree. It's not exclusively organized around one of the gametes, and I agree you could have a coherent definition like that. The reductio for that is, though, the reductio for having a definition. The reductio for saying that the definition. So this what I'm saying. The reductio is that it's just to say that there is an organism that does not have a sex, yet they can engage in sexual reproduction, and they're organized around
hermaphrodite.
No, I understand that. I understand that, but the reductio is simply that a organism can be organized around sexual reproduction, and yet they don't have a sex category, despite.
That's
no, I understand you reaffirming the view, but that's to me that's an insane view. And to go back to the shirt example, the fact that a shirt can be organized around fitting a left and right arm, that doesn't cancel out the categorization schema of what arms the shirt can meet. It doesn't mean It doesn't mean. Let me finish. It doesn't mean that the shirt is organized around meeting no arms. It doesn't mean that the shirt is organized around fitting no arms. It means that they're organized around both arms, and the fact that it's organized around the left and right arm doesn't mean that it somehow cancels it out, and now the shirt is organized around meeting no arms. It's just
it's that the shirt isn't organized around meeting a specific arm, and then by definition, it doesn't have a definition as belonging to one side or the other.
That's fine. Now, I understand. Like, I'm not disagreeing that you can have an organization schema or a category schema that doesn't contradict itself.
But you were saying that the presence of, like, that my position in.
Well, you had a different definition before.
Okay.
Your previous definition did actually entail a contradiction.
Right.
Now I'm saying your definition may not entail a contradiction. It just entails hilarious reductios and is at odds with the scientific consensus. Specifically biologists. Okay, so just so we're clear, a shirt that is so so just so we're clear, so an organism that is organized around more than one type of sexual reproduction is sexless.
Mm-hmm.
So we agree on that.
Has no sex. Has no sex category.
Yeah, which means it's sexless.
I don't know if it does.
I
think there are things without sex categories like a rock, and there are things without sex categories like a hermaphrodite, and one of those has a sexual function and the other one doesn't. But just because
I agree, but they're both. But by sexless, I just mean that they don't have any sex category. Like, for example, if I say that for any category, for any category. So if I say it's numberless, I mean it doesn't have any numbers.
Yeah.
If I say
I understand.
So on your view, an organism that has no, an organism that has. Wait, hold on. Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a number system that is organized around producing two different types of numbers, is that number system numberless?
Well, the thing about their relation to each other.
Well, just answer the question first before you get into any explanation.
All right.
Yeah.
It's organized around two different groups of numbers. Is that numberless? No.
Okay, cool. So you're saying that in a thing that's organized around two different types of numbers is not numberless, and if an organism is organized around two different types of sex is in fact sexless. So
right,
what I'm asking
numbers are like I think the numbers wouldn't be comparable to sexes in the analogy. They'd be comparable to phenotypes.
I'm not understanding the meaningful difference.
Well, if
well, let me just ask you this before, do you think that if we have two mutually exclusive instantiations, so we have a truly binary system. So we have, so for example, we can have, doesn't matter what it is. We could have 0 or 1. We could have a sperm or egg. We can have upspin and downspin of an electron in an orbital.
Yep.
Do you think that the fact that there are two different exclusive instantiations means that the instantiation category that has both of them, or the value that has both of them, doesn't have that variable at all? Like, it's just variable lists with respect to that binary bit system. So for example, if I asked you, an electron can have a upspin or a downspin, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so it's plus
I don't know enough about electrons probably for this metaphor to work.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let me do it like this. Let's say we have these golf balls, right? I'll post in the general chat.
Okay. Yep, I'll bring that up. I wasn't looking.
Okay. So we see a red golf ball, a yellow golf ball, and a golf ball that is both red and yellow, right?
Yep. Sorry, just one sec. I'm trying to bring up the chat.
You see the general chat?
So general text chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then scroll right.
Do you see the golf? Do you see the golf balls? Not to the top, to the bottom.
That would be why I'm having problems. Yeah. Why is it not working? Okay. Yep. Okay, you got golf balls. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So we agree that the red golf ball, that's a golf ball. Let's say it's organized around reflecting a red color. It's organized around being a red color. The yellow golf ball is organized around being a yellow color.
Yeah.
The third type of golf ball is both red and yellow.
Yeah.
Assuming that the color categories are exclusive disjunctions, that there can only be either red or yellow, would you categorize the third golf ball as colorless?
If the only two choices were red or yellow, then it's neither red or yellow.
I understand that, but that wasn't my question. My question was, would you categorize the last type of golf ball as not having a color?
No.
Great. So now my question is, if you have eggs and you have sperm, and you have a phenotype that can be organized around production of eggs, and a phenotype that can be organized around production of sperm, and a phenotype that can be organized around the production of eggs and sperm, and you say that produce... So my question is, why in that case would the phenotype that's organized around both the production of eggs and sperm, why is that sexless?
Because unlike red and yellow, which are not kind of, I don't know, the sexes have a mutually exclusive kind of relationship.
That's fine. I agree. Okay, we can do it with...
That red and yellow don't.
Yeah, we can do it with mutually exclusive ones. So, for example, we can use zeros and ones, right? So a 0 and a 1.
I don't think that it
Okay, we can use... I mean, there are many... Well, I can help you walk you through it. There's zero... The ones that are truly mutually... I mean, it works the same way. We can use mutually exclusive examples. It's going to be the same reductio. So one mutually exclusive example is going to be the spin of an electron after it's measured can only be upspin or downspin. Another one could be a 0 or 1, and this really isn't that abstract. You can imagine that a number... You can imagine that a given number can't be a 0 or a 1 at the same time. That's mutual. Like, it's just the contradiction of what it means to be a 0 or 1.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's say I had a paper that's organized around just producing zeros, and you see the paper and there's just zeros.
Okay.
Then I have another paper that just has ones. Right? Okay. We agree that the paper that just has zeros has a number category.
Yep.
It's organized around producing the number 0.
Yep.
We agree that the second paper is organized around producing ones, and it has a number category.
Yep.
Now, is the paper... Now, let's say we have a paper with a bunch of ones and zeros.
Yep.
Organized around 1, 0. Would you say that that paper is numberless?
If there were only 2 numbers...
Which there are in this case.
And it has no... Not that it has no number... Not that it's numberless in that... Like, in the sense that it has no numbers, but it's numberless in the sense that the category of... the category of paper that it isn't defined by 1 or 0.
Well, I understand that. I mean, again, I understand that. I get that. So, like, let's say I understand that I can have a consistent definition schema such that I say a number category. What I mean by a number category is that it's either 1 only or 0 only. And if something has zeros and ones, if it's organized around zeros and ones, it's just by my definition not numberless. It's just because I'm defining numbers in the way I'm defining numbers is proprietary, and it's proprietary such that what it means to have a number category is to either have 1 only or 0 only. And if you have 0 and 1, that's just not part of the number category. It's numberless. Now, you would immediately see this is a ridiculous definition, even if it doesn't contradict itself. You would immediately look at this in any other context, presumably, or if not everyone would, if you wouldn't, and see, wait a minute. No, I agree, you're not producing a contradiction by definition, but clearly that third piece of paper is not numberless. And if it is numberless on your definition, it's just a ridiculous definition. Why would I ever use this? Would you disagree with that? Would you say that actually, yeah, that's reasonable definition.
Because I'm not saying the paper doesn't have any numbers on it.
I understand that.
All right,
but you're also not saying. I think it makes sense. I think it's. I don't think that's ridiculous.
I think it sounds ridiculous because you misinterpret.
No, I'm not misinterpreting anything. What am I misinterpreting?
That. Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
I don't think I've misinterpreted your view, but go ahead if you think I have.
Yeah.
I can reproduce. Can I reproduce your view, and you can tell me if I have it right or wrong?
Yep.
Yeah. Your view is that what it means to be a male sex is having a phenotype organized around the production of sperm only. What it means to be a female sex is having a phenotype organized around the production of eggs only. And so therefore, since hermaphrodites are not organized around production of sperm only, and they are not organized around the production of eggs only, they don't meet any of the sex categories. Therefore, they don't have a sex category. Yeah. So, have I misunderstood your position?
Yeah. So I guess the only thing would be to say that the phenotype of the hermaphrodite doesn't have a sex category, but
that's what I said.
Yep. But in addition to that, the gonads of the phenotype do have a sex category.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with
the
that.
Numbers,
no, I understand that.
So just to go back to the analogy with the pieces of paper.
I wasn't talking about the numbers. I was talking about the piece of paper, the third piece of paper. When I asked if it didn't have numberless.
It has numbers on it, but it's not defined by the numbers in the same way that the hermaphroditic phenotype has gonads in it, but because of the combination of gonads that it has, it's not defined by those gonads.
Yeah, no, so I don't see what I misunderstood then.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah, okay, cool. So you can have, so there's nothing about that definition that I can see that contradicts itself. The reductio would just be that there, like I said, there are individuals that are there will be organisms that are organized around a mode of sexual reproduction, which, on your view, doesn't have a sex category. Just like there are papers, there are pages of paper organized around displaying number combinations that that wouldn't have a number category. Just like there are golf balls that are organized around having a color schema, a color combination that, on your view, wouldn't have a color category.
But because colors aren't mutually exclusive, you could say something like that is a.
Well, we can just define it to be that's fine. We could define it to be mutually exclusive. I mean, that wouldn't be a problem either. Like, we can just say that. I can say, what you're doing. I mean, it's you can just analytically define it to be. So I can just say that that anything that if something is red and something is yellow, it cannot be both red and yellow in other words, the same. You couldn't have a color that's red yellow. Right. Yeah. But you can have a ball that's red and yellow.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you would say in this case, as an analogy, that the golf ball that is both red and yellow doesn't have a color category.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay, so this is a good would be a good analogy. So it would just be, if by colorless we just mean it doesn't have a color category, we would just say something like this, that there's yellow balls and red balls, and in that overlap we just have this colorless category, where the ball that is red and yellow does not have a color category. You agree with that?
Yeah, it seems to be making sense, I guess.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm sure we could continue to give examples of reductios here, but it seems to me that you would just bite the bullet.
I'm happy being absurd.
You would just bite the bullet and say that, there's. I mean, what I would just say is that I'll just post. If anyone cares, if you do care about the way, because you did post the dictionary definition, so it seems like you may have some caring about the definition of what people consider to be what a word
if you have
means.
like a medical.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, peer reviewed in biology. So
Cool.
So one example would be, here's a peer-reviewed publication that says the quantification of sexual selection is less clear-cut in simultaneous hermaphrodites because each individual is both male and female at the same time. Notice how they're not talking about they're talking about the individual.
Yeah.
Here's another peer-reviewed publication. So this is a quote, which is to say, in contrast, simultaneous hermaphrodites cannot resolve these conflicts so easily because each individual is both male and female at the same time. So, and then we can have more. So let me get more examples. Here is the a publication. Well, here's hold on. Let me pull it. I'll post this one. And I'll post the relevant screenshot for the definitions in this and how things are being defined in science classrooms. Here is that example. Notice how hermaphrodite is defined as a definition, an individual that is both male and female. Okay, here's another one. This is in, here we go. Post this one. So both in the one last one, blah 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 blah. Okay. So this one, hermaphrodite organism is both male and female and has both types of sex organs. So they're talking about the phenotype. They're talking about the organism. So both in the peer-reviewed literature and in how it's taught in classrooms, hermaphrodites are considered, or hermaphrodite individuals, hermaphrodite organisms are considered to be both male and female. So to whatever degree that you do care about how things are defined, and it seems like you don't, but to whatever degree that you may, to whatever degree that you should know that this is a very proprietary definition that has, number one, it has the reductios of saying that, things like golf balls that have two colors, that even if the colors are mutually exclusive, the golf ball doesn't have a color category. If pages, if pages don't, if pages have zeros and ones, then the pages doesn't have a number category. The program spitting out. Yeah, I mean, it's just, we could come up with more examples. I mean, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should think of the other reductios that this might have. Let's do it like this. Let's say we have a orbital that has an so let's see like this. So we have a example of an electron that has an upspin and an electron that has a downspin. So electrons can have angular. A spin of an electron is intrinsic property of its angular momentum.
Okay.
Electrons can have an upspin, which is plus 1/2. Electrons can have a downspin, being minus 1/2.
So if you have an electron with an upspin and a downspin, my position would be saying that it has no spin.
Are you saying that it wouldn't have a spin category? It would be spinless.
Yeah, but that's the difference. You're saying, like, there's a difference between saying it doesn't have a spin, like doesn't have a category, and that it doesn't have any like property, like any sex properties, I guess. So like we say with the golf ball, obviously the red and yellow golf ball is red and yellow, but it doesn't fit into either of the red or yet like the pre of those two.
It doesn't fit into specifically. No, I understand. It doesn't. I understand that it wouldn't fit into the red only or yellow only category. I get that. Again, I'm not trying to say that your definition has a contradiction or is incoherent. I agree that it's just that if we were to present this type of definition in any other context, it would just be laughed at. And it wouldn't be laughed at because it would contain a contradiction. It would be laughed at because it clearly doesn't capture what we're trying to mean when we use the words that we're using. I can clearly say that, well, when I say color, I clearly mean red only or yellow only category. And because this has both red and yellow categories, on my view, it just doesn't have a color category.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true. It's clearly true. But if I were to present this anywhere, I would just be laughed out of the room.
But it depends.
The reason
it depends on whether, like, why would you be laughed out of the room?
Yeah, the reason I would be laughed out of the room is because clearly I'm not capturing. I'm clearly not capturing what people would mean or what is used in the scientific literature if I would be presenting this at an academic conference.
Sure, but it's
something.
the same thing with, like, you know, alive and oh no, sorry.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the same thing with that. I see where that's going now.
Why wouldn't it be? Like, if an organism was alive and dead at the same time. No. Why doesn't the presence of like an inert thing isn't alive or dead, but the existence of an inert thing doesn't destroy the doesn't make the proposition that alive and dead are a binary.
Because I can answer that, because that would be an example of something truly out of the. So the reason for that is because it's not being generated out of something that is both alive and dead, right? So what would make that a good analogy? If something was both alive and dead, we would say that is both alive and dead. We would say that it has this category. That's not the same thing as just saying something that isn't part of the category schema because it has both properties. It's just out of the category schema because it genuinely has neither property. So if you found something that is genuinely,
then how about the position stays somehow, but the maybe it's male and male and female and doesn't have a sex category.
Well, that's the contradiction.
That's hilarious. But what I'd like to understand is from Avi, like, why is it that we're having a debate around if this guy can create some proprietary definition by which he can say that there's only male and female? Surely the discussion should be about if sex as used in the scientific literature is binary or not. Right?
Well, of course he can start talking about schmex and then say schmex has whatever properties he wants. He's just creating a word at that point. Does he grant that the word as used by the scientific community clearly refers to something that is not binary? I think he has granted that.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't have enough. Yeah.
Yeah, so your position is the thing that everyone else is talking about and that we're taught about in schools and that the scientific community is talking about, that thing's not binary. I just have a special definition that no one else is using about something that is binary. That's the view, right?
Yeah.
It sounds kind of stupid when you say it like that, doesn't
it? I guess I don't understand.
Because imagine if we were debating whether one can be two at the same time or something. Let's just take some other topic, right? Mm-hmm. Or like discussing if something can be like a lion and a shark at the same time, right? And it's like everyone. This is kind of the reverse case where everyone's going to say no, it can't be both at the same time, right? But say that, everyone who's ever learned what the words lion and shark mean, it's like they have a clear idea what they're talking about. The biological community has a clear definition of, what those words mean. And then the position that you end up taking is like, well, sure, like according to how literally everyone else is using the words, you can't have something that's a lion and a shark at the same time. I'm just using the words in my own special way where it can be both at the same time, right? Like, right. What's the? I mean, I guess you can do that if you want, but it just seems like, it seems like you're not actually disagreeing with anything about Avi's position, right? It sounds like you're granting that all of the social justice warriors who you're arguing with, what they're saying is true. and you're just trying to salvage your position by going, well, if I mean something different than everyone else, then I can still be technically making sense.
Sure.
Like, if you just grant that's what you're doing, then, you know, fair enough. But it's just important to, like, fully seed, like, yes, like the word as everyone else on the planet is using it, the scientific community is using it, etc. Yeah, it refers to something that's not binary.
Well, yeah. Okay. I guess that, well, hang on. Let me take a second. Show me one of these definitions.
Well, I just did, but we can go through them again. Yeah, I can post them. Yeah, so here's one peer-reviewed literature. Here's a peer-reviewed source. Here, I'll go again. So,
but see, also, before you go through the definition, but like the fact that you are even asking shows that like this is something that you want to fight, right? Like you want to fight against the idea that what everyone else is talking about and what the scientists are talking about. You want to fight against the idea that that's not binary, right? It's like you're not just concerned with defending that your proprietary definition is not binary. We can always make up a proprietary definition, something that has whatever features we want, as long as we're not committed to too many features before the fact that is such that it's logically impossible to craft a definition with certain properties, right?
Sure.
Unless we're restricted from the get-go, we can always create a word that has what we want. But the fact that you're sitting here interested in like, well, like do the definitions out there that the scientists use really say that kind of thing? It shows like you're not just fighting for your ability to create a proprietary definition that somehow is binary, right? It's like you want to argue clearly about the word as everyone else is using it, unless I'm just misunderstanding you.
Right. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I mean. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Because it's kind of like Mott and Bailey, right? Like, are you like a right-wing guy? Like, if you are, you probably.
He's a Marxist, I think.
Oh, yeah, okay, sorry, yeah, true. Because, like, well, there's a lot of left-wingers who do Mott and Bailey stuff, which is why I was going to pick on the left for doing it. I could think of examples on the right if I sat here for a minute. But, you know, you talk to a leftist, and they'll give you one of these, like, you know, ridiculous slogans, like, you know, Canada is like a white supremacist society or something like that. And you'll be like, well, that sounds incredibly stupid. No, it's not. What's the argument for that? And then the second you put pressure on it, it's like, well, you know, white people tend to have more like wealth on average or something like that. And it turns into these totally mundane like claims that no one would ever disagree with. But the initial claim was something really extravagant, right? And it's like Mott and Baileying is kind of like, it's kind of bad form, right? Like it seems kind of silly to throw out.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't so much feel like I was inventing my own proprietary definition. I was working from the dictionary definition of.
Yeah, no, and if you want to defend that the word, you know, as used commonly or as used by the scientists or something like that is binary, then that's like an interesting discussion. But it's like it's the like. Not being able to defend that and then somehow ending up in this position where you're just defending that you can create a word that's binary. It's like that's when like Avi basically got the win, but somehow the debate kept going into some other topic and it didn't get acknowledged that the first topic just got like shut down, right? So I don't know, I think you'd want to just either grant Sorry, what was the difference? Like, because the difference of the two topics there that would be debated.
Sorry. I said that I was arguing from the dictionary definition, and then you said, well, that would have been fine, but then you started doing something else at some point. I didn't notice when I switched.
No, I'm saying if that is the case, that's happening, it's kind of like, it's silly in the same way as getting Mott and Bailey is silly, right? Like, say that like, obviously, when Avi's criticizing this idea that sex is binary, he doesn't know what your fucking proprietary definition is. So but clearly that's
not what the dictionary definition is. Like, why would he assume? Yeah.
So, but can I just complete my point? I was just saying, obviously, when he's out there making these claims, he's not thinking about what proprietary definitions people he's never spoken to might have, right? Like before his first debate with you, he didn't know what definition you're using. It's clearly talking about some other definition, like the definition that's out there that everyone else is using, right?
Well,
So
he did know what I was he did know what I was talking about, because he'd like watched a whole video. Well, I don't know. He'd watched a video of mine and responded to me and said, you know,
just to be clear,
so he knew where I was coming from beforehand. I didn't like.
Well, just to be clear, I'm interested when I'm speaking about a scientific subject. I'm interested in the way scientists are using the word, how these words are defined in the scientific community. Like just like if I was talking about a philosophical definition, I would be interested in the way philosophers are using that word. If I'm talking about a legal definition, I would be interested in the way lawyers are defining that word, right? I wouldn't be very interested in the way like a lay person definition would be using that word, because that's not something that interests me. I'm not using that word in the same way that the experts in the field are using that word.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and just imagine a discussion where, you know, I say that, like, you know, a chair can be, you know, composed of, like, I don't know, of, you could say that I'm what's a common word, like, well, chair is pretty common. Say that I'm like using chair to mean star, right? And I'm saying chairs can have like features of stars. Like you can have a chair that like it doesn't have legs, it can't be sat on. It's just, you know, the like the size.
That's what I feel like is happening with your argument, where you're essentially calling a phenotype a sex.
Well, just wait a second. But okay. Well, sorry, you threw me off my train of thought for a second there.
Sorry.
It's fine. It's just it'd be kind of like, all I'm trying to get across is it's silly to, like, no one's going to debate that you can create unless it's like logically
that you can create words. But that's exactly what Avi's doing when he's saying that.
But wait, before talking about whether it's what he's doing or something like this, right? Like, is the debate about whether you can create a word that has this feature of being binary, or is the debate about whether the language as used by scientists is referring to something binary?
Right.
Because if it starts at the first, and then when the first can't be defended, that it like the debate can just turn into the second, right, without a concession.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And I'm not saying that's what did happen. I'm saying kind of seems like that, because I doubt Avi would have gone into a debate about a proprietary definition, right? It seems weird.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, which is it about, I guess?
Yeah. I guess
because one other thing, because the other thing he'll do is maybe you'll try to, I bet this happened too, actually, it's probably led to some confusion. Like, if you give a proprietary definition that happens to not work, which it sounds like you did a bunch of times, and you found your way to one that actually is binary, he's going to go, well, no, even by your standard, that still is not something that's binary, right? But that's like the debate slowly migrating away from the initial topic, right? And then it starts turning into, can you craft a word that works, right?
Yeah.
But the original topic, though, do you grant that, or are you still debating about whether the word as used by scientists refers to something binary?
I think that the word does it refer to something binary? I still think that it does refer to something binary. And
by it, you mean the word like as it would be taught in a biology class, as you'll find it defined in biology textbooks, etc.
Yeah. I think that sex would be binary. Do you
agree with that, Avi?
No, I think that actually entails a contradiction.
So that debate should happen instead of it sliding into a debate about if you can create the word, right? Because he's going to give you some trouble if you give definitions that don't work, but he's not going to deny that you can make your way to one eventually. I'm sure that's a fair statement of your position, right, Avi?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have provided 4 examples, at least, where either in the peer-reviewed literature, in the peer-reviewed biology literature, hermaphrodite organisms are referred to as being both male and female at the same time. Right. I've also provided textbooks and curriculums as it's taught in science schools, actually straight up defining hermaphrodites as organisms that are both male and female at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so if that's the case, then it's actually a contradiction to say that the sex category is binary. It actually entails a logical. That does entail a logical contradiction.
The sex category, but isn't that the phenotype category? The sex as it refers to an organism, or an individual. Same, which isn't really meaningfully different. Yeah, sex as it refers to an individual. So, for example, we have a category that is this individual. That's a what you're talking about is a phenotype, not a sex.
I'm talking about the sex category of a given phenotype.
Right.
Okay, and then that's used in the scientific literature, that to say that is binary entails a contradiction.
Yeah, I think that I think that potential. Yeah, I mean, as I say, like I got no scientific knowledge. I'm just like discussing because I'm finding it fun. If it's not fun, then don't. Then we've been talking for a while. You've spent a lot of time. It's been a good discussion. But I guess that it probably would make more sense to say they're male and female.
Well, here's the problem. Once you grant that, once you're saying that their sex category can be male and female, you've entailed that there is a third sex category. And once you do that, it's a logical contradiction for a category to be binary.
Right, but that's a category of phenotype, not a category of sex.
It's a sex category of an organism, or it's a sex category of a phenotype. But let me put it to you this way.
This is what you do. This is what you do. I actually noticed this in the Twitter discussion. Was that you substitute the phrase sex for sex with respect to an organism, which actually means phenotype. So then you get to argue that the phenotype is a sex because you're not calling it a phenotype.
No, I'm not. Nope. I'm not saying that the phenotype is a sex. I'm saying it has a sex. It has a sex category. That's not the same thing as saying a phenotype. Yeah, just like, for example, the golf balls. The golf balls that you saw before, I'm saying that they have a color category. I'm not saying the golf ball is a color. I'm saying that the golf ball has a color category. The same way a phenotype can have a sex category.
I don't understand why
a phenotype can't create a sex category.
I don't understand.
I'm not saying it's creating it. I'm saying it has it.
Wait, but the inference that Avi made that you objected to had nothing to do with like phenotype, right? Like when he said if you grant that you can have an individual who's male and female, then you're granting that male and female is not a binary category scheme. I don't know what the fuck phenotype, how that managed to come in here. That's just a direct.
Because
well, wait a sec. But if something does not fit strictly into two categories, that thing is not binary. You agree with that, right? It's premise one.
Sure.
Premise two, male and female, doesn't fit strictly into into two categories, right?
It fits into male and female. It's the two existing categories.
Yeah, but it's not always in one or the other mode, right? You just granted that there's someone who would be in both modes.
There's a phenotype that can contain both gonads.
Wait, I don't know why the word phenotype is coming up. Do you grant that there are individuals who are male and female?
There are individuals.
That's what you said a moment ago.
Shit. Yeah. That there are individuals that are male and female. Sure. Or no. Well, there are there are individuals that contain both male and female gonads.
Okay, but are you granting that they're male and female or not? Because the point Avi made is once you grant that there are individuals who are male and female, then you're not going to be able to fight the claim that sex is not binary. Right? Like you have to fight him on that. If you you can't grant that and then somehow get out of it.
The sexes are still binary, but the phenotype is not.
No, I'm asking, the word phenotype is not being used anywhere here by me. I'm asking, can you have an individual who's male and female?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if someone can be male and female, right, then sex isn't binary. Right? We could set it up like a formal inference. It'll be valid in first order logic, right? You could set it up in first order logic, and it'll be valid. First premise would just be, if someone can occupy two categories in a category scheme, the scheme isn't binary. Someone can occupy the categories male and female in the sex category scheme. Therefore, sex isn't binary. It's going to be a formally valid argument. You could just prove that in first order logic. You have to fight one of those premises if you don't want to grant the conclusion.
Yeah. Yeah, I have... Yeah, okay, cool. I guess I'm back to where I was at the beginning. Defeated yet again. Cool. Well, yeah, I guess that, I don't know. I could make a bunch of guesses and things like that, but I think I'm going to need to take a break and think it over.
Yeah, well, instead of trying to like find a way to prove the position, because none of us want to be like the, you know, like classic, like picture some like religious motivated reasoner, like no matter how many times you debunk the argument, they're just going to come back with some new argument for their religion, right? It's like, you probably don't want to be like that.
This isn't like, I mean, I didn't really understand the debate well enough, obviously, coming into it. But and like a lot of people who agree with me, like most of the people who agree with me in terms of like sex being a binary, were telling me that no one else made this argument that like a hermaphrodite has no sex category. I just thought that it was kind of a idea that I came up with in the space between.
Well, you can do that though. You just, at that point, if you're using your own definitions, you're going to be able to say they don't have a sex. But once you go down that road, then you're off of the pathway of defending the original claim, which is that the word as used by scientists refers to something that's binary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. He's going to grant all that. He might give you a bit of pushback if you say something that's like incoherent, but he's not going to deny that you can reach a definition that's going to be binary. But that's not the debate, whether you can craft a definition that's binary. Right. The debate is about if the word as used by the scientific community refers to something binary.
Yeah.
And if you grant that inference, right, if you grant the first premise that a categorization scheme where something can occupy two categories isn't binary, and that a person can occupy the two categories, male and female, in the sex category scheme, right, then you just get committed to the conclusion. It's just it's going to be a formally valid inference. You can prove that in first order logic. You're going to get committed to the conclusion.
Oh, okay, sure. I mean, I think also that this just goes for it's probably not going to help, but this just goes for animal species that do have like the sex in general. Like obviously, I don't think that there are any like truly hermaphroditic like human beings. There's not, but that's a.
What is that?
Sorry, I don't know why that was relevant.
Oh well, yeah, because he's gonna also say to you, it doesn't matter if they exist or not. You have to rule out the possibility, the logical possibility of them existing in order. Yeah. Right, but not that he can't win the further argument too about whether they exist. Right, it's just not necessary to win the original argument.
No, definitely he can't make the argument that humans have a hermaphroditic phenotype. If he'd like to make that argument, I would.
Wait, no, that was different phrasing. Do you? Let's not go down a way separate pathway. But if you don't think that there are humans who are male and female, right? Then I think. Wait! But you just granted that a minute ago. What are you talking?
Yeah. No. But there's a difference. This is what I've. It's been, I guess, part of the discussion. There's a difference between having a male or female phenotype that has true hermaphroditism and a hermaphroditic phenotype. Do you understand
Okay,
the difference between that?
I don't, but I don't think that that's relevant to the first few points, because like the first point is just about logic, right? It's like it's just going to go through if you grant those two premises. So what I was going to say is that there's probably a further debate to be had there, because Avi can win the binary thing based on the possibility, the logical possibility of a third category, right? But there's a further question about whether any individuals actually exist who are in that category. And I think you can win that debate too, but I'm just saying that's like a further discussion.
Yeah, and we would have to, but then it would also make a difference if we were to have that discussion about whether we're using the word, whether we're using our terms in the way in his proprietary terminology, or if we're using it in accord with the scientific terminology. Because in the first discussion I had, one of the things I actually mentioned is that the phenotype he was discussing was was a proprietary definition. But the reason I went through it anyway was just to show that even if I grant that there are no human individuals that met his proprietary definition still wouldn't result in a binary category. And that was the result of our first discussion.
Here's what I want to understand, though, because I think it's fair to say that you're granting that the word as used by scientists isn't referring to something binary, right? We're not fighting about that anymore, or are you still trying to fight that?
I think it's... Yeah, I still have I have questions around that, but yeah, I'm not fighting it, I guess, at this point. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you have questions, I guess you can raise them with Avi, but there's like this question that kind of comes up for you if you grant that, right? Like if you grant that the word as the scientists are using it refers to something that's not binary, well then, and if Avi grants that you can come up with some definition that refers to something that is binary, then the question is just like, okay, well wait, then you don't actually disagree. You don't actually think that there's anything that he's saying that's false. At that point, why are you committed to using that definition? It's like, why are you so attached to insisting that, you know, intersex people like don't have a sex or something? Why would you
I never said intersex people don't have a sex.
Well, no, yeah, you didn't say intersex people. Just to clarify, true. If there are people who are true simultaneous have true simultaneous hermaphroditism, you would say that they don't have a sex.
No.
All right, but the question is
no. That's the whole point about not understanding the difference.
Sorry. Let me just put it this way. Let me put it this way. Sorry, you're right. I would say that if there was a human individual that was organized around the production of both eggs and sperm, you would say that they don't have a sex.
That they had a phenotype that was organized around, which is subtly different. Like,
if they had a phenotype, sure, that's fine. If they had a phenotype,
if there was actually a way to phrase it the most clearly is if there was a third human phenotype that was organized around the production of both eggs and sperm, then that person, I would say doesn't have a sex.
Yeah, that person doesn't. You would say that person doesn't have a sex. Yeah.
So I guess my question is just that if you grant that everything he's saying is correct, right? Why is it that you want to insist on using that particular proprietary definition where you say they're sexless? What's the motivation for that?
Where I say that. What's the motivation for? Just that I thought it was true. Just that I think it's true.
Well, wait, but we all know now no one's disagreeing about what's true except for your few further questions, which you might ask at some point. You're granting what Avi's saying. He's granting that you can come up with a definition that's going to be binary. But the question is, okay, if we can both come up with these logically consistent definitions, and there's this one that everyone's using, and then there's this proprietary one that I can use if I want to, I'm asking, why select that one, right? And saying it's because it's true. Well, that, I mean,
no, I understand.
Definitions don't have properties like truth, but there's nothing obvious saying that's false, right? So it's like the idea that it allows you to say something true wouldn't be a basis for choosing it over the other definition. Right?
Well, you have to understand this one. It's important to understand that definitions don't have to say the definition is truth.
Yeah. No, I know that was
Yeah. Those definitions don't have truth values. The only they could be incoherent. You can have a definition that's incoherent, but they don't have a truth value.
Right. But what's the motivation then for using that definition? Like, why are you so committed to using that definition? I'm just curious. I don't understand it.
Partially because originally the debate that I got into was whether or not sex was a spectrum. And yeah, I made a video in response to that. And then I was just looking for people to debate on the idea whether sex was a spectrum, which I think is a much easier thing to kind of refute. Avi commented on one of my videos and I went, oh, wicked, awesome, a person who wants to discuss, like who wants to debate whether sex is a spectrum. And he admittedly did say, actually, I don't think sex is a spectrum, I just think it's not a binary. And I didn't really like think about that enough, but it was just like, oh, wicked, like someone to, hash this out with. And yeah, then I got into the first discussion and realized arguing that sex is not a spectrum is much different to arguing that sex is definitely a binary. And then I sort of just went, I don't know, wanted to have a couple of turns to see, get my bearings and stuff like that. So yeah, that was the motivation. I was never meant to be here, I guess.
I guess. So yeah, I understand that. Yeah, well, there's that question about the spectrum. Like, I don't know. You could discuss that, but yeah, of course, there's a distinction between. It's not a dichotomy to say something is either binary or a spectrum, right? You can just have like a middle ground, like it's just ternary or something. There's still like distinct categories, but there's more than two. So
yeah,
whatever. But what I'm just trying to understand is, now that you realize you don't actually disagree with anything Avi's saying, why do you still insist on using the word? Because like I saw, you seem nice enough, but I saw some of your videos, and you also do stuff like with trans people. You insist on calling them like he, if it's like a trans woman or whatever, right? So my question is just, if nothing is false about if it's not going to be the case that you're making false statements if you use the language, right? It's like, why the insistence on using the language is going to be like hurtful to people, right? That's what I'm getting at.
Okay. Well, this is a completely different question then. Okay.
It's a pretty similar question. It's still the fundamental idea of the fundamental idea of the question is like, why, if there's not any kind of problem with the other language scheme, are you insisting on using yours? All I added in that last phrasing was that yours hurts people,
yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's yeah, okay, well, they're at least two different questions.
Because you're sitting there going, well, there's two completely correct things I can say, but I'm going to insist on saying the one that will hurt people. It's like, why? What's the point of that?
No. There's only, like, in the, in terms of my opinion, like, my opinion on whether sex is whatever, it doesn't do anything. I, like, have a small YouTube channel. That's not gonna have any massive impact. In terms
I didn't say it would. I'm just asking, even if it's just you personally, I'm just asking why that decision, right?
Okay.
Well, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, because you don't seem like an asshole. It's just
in terms of the sex question, I'm just exploring it and I'm trying to learn more about it, and I am doing that through talking to people who disagree with me, in order to work out where I'm wrong. Because I am sort of, I get, like, it's fun to make your own videos and have people who already agree with you go, yeah, that's a great point. But it's also good to, get in there and have someone show you that you're wrong. In terms of the gendering question, that's a whole separate, like, political debate, I guess. And I would argue that it's not like one thing hurts people and one thing doesn't. I think they both have different kind of political impacts, and it would be a huge discussion to get into.
So with the sex one though, if there's nothing wrong with the language Avi's using, why do you insist on using this other language scheme? It's also not what the science community is using. Like, what's the reason for that? Why not just say, okay, well, actually, if there's no problem with the other language scheme, fuck it, I'll just use the language that all the scientists are using. Why not do that?
I might.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Well, it was just like I said, it was just kind of like I got into the first debate, kind of through my own fault, not really like reading what I was discussing properly, and then I just kind of yeah, felt dissatisfied with how the first one went, and feel like I understand the issue a lot better now, even though I'm sort of like, I understand why I'm wrong better, I guess. Yeah, so
I don't think you are necessarily wrong though. If you're just going to define a term, it's not necessarily going to be that you're saying anything wrong.
Right.
But yeah, I guess I don't want to take it into a whole different arena, but I do have the same kind of question with the language around trans people, right? Because it's like, if in the case of sex, you're like, well, both language schemes make sense, and actually, this one's kind of used by everyone. It's what the scientists are using. Maybe I'll use that. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, fair enough. But then in the context of gender, there's like resistance to that, and there's insistence on using the language that's going to like, cause suffering, right? Even when both schemes work. So look, I won't like take the debate there because whatever, but
yeah,
it's just,
I mean,
it's
if you want it
curious.
to another time, what? I don't really know who I'm talking to at the moment.
My name's Isaac.
Oh, hey, Isaac. Yeah, we could do it. We could, if you want, send me a DM or something, and we could hash that out another time.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, good man. Talking to you.
Yeah. Really good too. I think you spotted a lot of the flaws in the discussion, helped kind of pull it back on the rails. That was good.
Yeah, thanks, Isaac. He does that a lot. That's good.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. Okay, awesome. So, and if you want to, like as I mentioned before, if you at any point want to have another discussion, just DM me, hit me up.
Sure.
And we can hash it out again if you'd like.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for that. I'll catch you soon. Have a good day.
Yeah, like we have like for some people we have a counter, like how many times are they gonna come back?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, all right. So let's see if you hit 3. All right.
Yeah. All right. See ya.
All right, later.
Bye.
See ya.